Well, welcome to a Wednesday edition of NBL Now, and I promised you all that we would get our regular correspondent Bryce Cotton back, and we have. It's been a 2-week hiatus, but I'm liking the regular Bryce Cotton features as a correspondent. So, Bryce, welcome to NBL Now. How'd you enjoy your first NBL Now, I should say, from 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, it was good. Didn't know what to expect, but it was pretty chill and lax. So probably the fact that you was on the squad with us, so it made it a lot easier.
Hey, I did want to be teammates with you at some point in my career. So if that's media related, then so be it. There was some great feedback, so that's why we're making sure we get you on as a regular correspondent. So let's get stuck into it. It's been a big week in the NBL, as it always is. Only 4 rounds down, but it almost seems like a long time ago that you went up to Cairns and played in Cairns for the Perth Wildcats. And you did Bryce Cotton things, and you did tell me on NBL Now when you first popped up 2 weeks ago that your favourite away place to play is Cairns. And I didn't want to jinx it, but it looks like I didn't have to because you proved it.
Yeah. My second favorite city treated me pretty nicely out there. And I had a little bit of time to check out one of the waterfalls, too. So that was my first time exploring, actually, a little bit deep out into Cairns. So I enjoyed the trip and the game.
It was an important win for the Wildcats. We know what had happened before that, and we know we've got to go to New Zealand this week. It's been a lot of travel. Now that you've had time to reflect on it, how big was getting that win in Cairns?
It was huge. Obviously, we wanted to stop the losing skid, and Cairns is off to a great start so far this year. So to play pretty well in that arena against a good team on the road, knock our first road win out the way, it felt pretty good. We made it a little bit closer than it should have been, but it felt good to get the win.
Yeah, there's something about inbound plays, not just with the Wildcats. It's something in the NBL water over the last couple of years. I don't know what it is about inbounding the ball in the clutch. But the big story that came out of that game, I was calling that game, the competitiveness, the words that were shared, you and Rob Edwards, 2 elite competitors going at it. Is it fun being part of that? Do you just get caught up in the moment? Because I said during the call, this is just 2 elite scoring guards going head to head. What's it like in the moment when all of that heat goes on?
It's fun. Obviously, everybody's playing and want to win. But when those competitive juices get flowing, I guess moments like that, it just takes me back to like growing up at the park, playing at the playground, and things getting heated on the court during pickup or one-on-one, whatever it is.
You had told me, I think it was last year when we recorded a huddle and there was fans in Adelaide who were chirping you, and you always tell me that you're never going to start anything, but if someone wants to start something, that's just going to help you go to another level. Is that still the case, or do you, as you get older and your legacy continues to grow, that you might throw a little talk in there every now and then?
No. Like I'm chill. I guess that's what kind of makes me feel good about really barking back at somebody, knowing like that's going to be my last resort. So if somebody does start something, whether it's a fan saying some crazy stuff or whatever, I have no problem going nonstop after that.
Don't poke a goat. I keep saying it. There's no need to do it. Big news in the NBL landscape this round, obviously. The Southeast Melbourne Phoenix fall to 0-5. They part ways with Mike Kelly. And now you haven't had a coach who's gone during a season, but you probably played against a team that's had a significant change in the organisation. What are we expecting from the playing group as they lead into this weekend? Because they play the Melbourne United. They're playing a throwdown. There's no bigger test, but there's going to be a lot of eyes on them.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, I haven't been a part of that, but playing against teams like that, it's like that final fork in the road. And it's like this is the team's, I guess, final chance to either come together or everybody kind of splits off into their own world and, focusing on what they need to do individually. And I guess that scenario doesn't ring any more true than, having to play against United. So they're probably the top team in the league at the moment. And for them, it's like, I would say for Phoenix, they have that mentality of, look, let's go out here with a nothing to lose thing. Let's be together. And depending on the flow of the game, that could determine, I guess, what the continuity and camaraderie will be like for the rest of the season. But it's, I guess, long story short, it's that pitchfork in the road.
There's all these moments as teams where we forget sometimes it's a business, and we understand that there's some decisions that get taken out of the hands of players. Is that, you talk about the fork in the road moment, is this where the playing group gets together and says, look, we can't control any of this. All we can control is going out on Sunday and making sure that we show up the right way, we give our fans the right showing, and that we just turn things around from here?
Absolutely, because obviously it's not an ideal start to the season for them, and losing their coach this early in the season, they have to realize there's going to be a lot of outside noise, and they just basically have to block it out and realize it's just them. And as long as they're together, they're the ones that's going to see them out of it. Nobody can, rescue them basically. So if they stick together and realize it's just them against the world type mentality, I think it'll do them justice.
We saw last week that both the Brisbane Bullets and the Phoenix, who were Bullets winless at the time, changed some things with the lineups. And I've been very big on us removing the negative connotation around coming off the bench. And you've played long enough. You've played with guys, you've played against guys who you've seen who might be stars for their entire career, but just whatever lineup is going with a certain team, that you might have to come off the bench for some time. Do you see coming off the bench for other people, depending where it is, as a big deal that I guess fans and we've just become accustomed to?
A big deal, I would say, if you look at it the right way, yes, it's a big deal, because if you star in your role and you're bringing that much firepower to your team coming off the bench, yes, that's a huge deal. And a lot of times, if a guy stars in the role enough as a sixth man, yeah, they may not start the game, but they might end up playing more minutes than the actual starter. So it's like what actually matters, or who's in the game in the last, 2-3 minutes of the game, and it's close. You know what I mean? That's what matters the most, not necessarily, who calls your name before the game starts.
And we saw that. I mean, James Bateman for the Brisbane Bullets, he came out and it also, weirdly enough, he looked very confident because he got to see a different look. He played against some of the bench from the Phoenix, and it looked like he was having fun and understanding exactly what you're saying is this is a new lease for me. This is a new opportunity. And it's just good to see players like that smile.
Yeah, definitely. It helps you slow the game down, and, it has its advantages because you get to see the game from a different perspective for the first 3 or 4 minutes. You see what's going on, and then you find ways of what you can add to the team for that specific game. And it may vary from game to game, but if you channel it the right way, you basically have the advantage coming off the bench, seeing what you need to do or what you need to lay back on, depending on how the team's playing.
I'm with you. I'm going to continue to push that. It's not about who starts a game. It's definitely who finishes and who has the most influential aspect of it. And the interesting thing now is the Brisbane Bullets play a New Zealand Breakers team that we haven't seen for some time. They were over in the US, and you've done a trip like that before. You've done the NBA games. We know you had the G League Ignite games last year. Firstly, let's just touch on the trip as a whole. You've got to live and breathe it, so we can pick your brain on it. It's a great opportunity to come together as a team, as bonding, but it's also a great opportunity to put whether it's young stars like Alex Sarr last year, but put the world eyes on what the Perth Wildcats are.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's a great opportunity. It's a long trip. You never get used to it, but I think the benefit of it is you're around your teammates and your coaches and everybody 24/7. So it speeds up trying to build the chemistry, which might take maybe 2 or 3 weeks sometimes for teams who don't go overseas for some preseason games. So that can kind of help them. And I would say just being able to play high-level competition against teams that you aren't going to play in the season as well, it's just good for the mind for everybody. They get to play competitive basketball where it doesn't show up on the wins and loss column. And then when they head back to the NBL, everybody's feeling pretty good. Everybody has a good feel of how they like to play with each other. So it's more about bonding and basically just speeding up that chemistry process, I would say.
And that's been a lot of the reports that have come out of the New Zealand Breakers trip about how well they all came together and what they took out of it. But the reality of it is they kick us off around 5 against the Brisbane Bullets. And you talk about a long trip. They have had some incredible travel from even before the Blitz started. Is there a sense of having to be realistic if you're the Breakers now, of understanding, as you said, it's a long trip. We might have tired legs. We might be a little bit slow, but let's just not come back and expect us to be the team that was in round 2 when we got a win before we took off?
No, in my opinion, you don't go with that approach. I think if you give yourself an out to be, I guess, lesser than what you are, then you're going to be lesser than what you are. So I think they come in with that mentality. They're going to be the same team going into week, whatever it is, whether it's 1, 2, 5, whatever. It doesn't matter. Go out, be the New Zealand Breakers, and then if the game doesn't go as planned, in the back of your mind, understand some of the circumstances, but you have to go in expecting that you're the same exact team.
And I will let it be said that when it comes to people talking about travel, New Zealand Breakers and Perth Wildcats are the only ones that can talk about travel. I'll say it for you so you don't have to, Bryce, but they're the only ones who can talk about travel in the NBL. But it's a big round, and we've already seen it. We see it every single year, the parity in the NBL, where it doesn't matter what a team's record is. If you go in there with a different mindset that we're above them on the ladder or we're fully expected to win, more often than not, that's not happening. That's not the case because every team can show up and beat anybody on any given night.
Absolutely. Any team you play, there's no point in even looking at the ladder to see where they stand because it honestly doesn't matter. I've seen it, year after year in this league where the number 6 team will blow out the number 2 team in the league just because, maybe they didn't respect them on that given night. So, you got to treat everybody respectfully, and I think New Zealand will make sure that they're giving Brisbane due respect, knowing that their record doesn't matter because Brisbane's still a good team, and if you don't come correct, they can and will roll over you. It's only a matter of time before they get everything together.
You guys head over to New Zealand as well, so they get no time to rest, straight into a doubleheader. Long trip for the Wildcats. Do you do anything different in terms of the average road trip when you're going all the way to New Zealand?
Well, I know this trip we're going to be getting in pretty late, so we're just going to have to basically block out any potential excuses that may float around in our mind. I think we get in around 1 a.m. So basically landing the same day that you play, you just got to block it out. It's a 5-hour time difference, so it's one of those no excuses games, and give it everything you got. And I guess we're all in the same playing field because I know New Zealand's going to be tired considering their travel as well. So it doesn't matter. It's fair game.
I love the attitude from you, Bryce. That's why I'm happy that you're a correspondent on NBL Now. Before I let you go, there's news that we're expecting to be broken at some point, either today or tomorrow. Matt Weston, talking from the Adelaide 36, is saying that the deal to keep Montrezl Harrell here for the rest of the season is nearly finalised. And we spoke about this a couple of weeks ago, what it meant to have a player of his calibre in the league. For him to potentially look like he's going to be here for the remainder of the season, it's so exciting, obviously for Adelaide, but for the league as a whole of what we're continuing to build.
It is, man. Like I said, this league, it doesn't surprise me anymore with the level of talented players we have that come in and out of this league. And for me, biasly, I'm just happy I got somebody from the Big East I get to compete against. I've missed that a little bit.
We all will, as an old collegiate athlete myself, those old Big East days, it's probably hard to ever remember anything as good as that.
Yeah, me and Montrez, we had a chance to catch up at Hoop Fest, and we were just kind of talking about that and how basically we were a part of the last year as well of like the real Big East, and just reminiscing on them days. So we're the last of the Mohicans.
Well, 2 greats as well to come out of that, mate. I'm thrilled with the fact that you're a regular correspondent for us, but promise me one thing, that if you continue to grow this media, you just call me a teammate at the start of this podcast. I'm holding on to that for the rest of however long these media careers go. Is that fair?
Let's do it. Kobe and Shaq. Let's get it.
I'm happy to be. I'll be a Jordan Farmer or whatever you need me to be coming off the bench. I couldn't put up there. Bryce, thanks so much for your time.
Sounds good, man. I'll see you again soon.
Thank you, everybody, for listening. We'll be back tomorrow with another special episode of NBL Now.